Hello people, welcome one and all to another episode of the F1 2022 My Team series here on the channel. Today is the Azerbaijan Grand Prix at the Baku City Circuit. One of my favourite circuits on the calendar personally to drive. Last year, this and Canada were probably my two fastest tracks that I was fastest around. As you can see, to start today's episode, we are going to spend some of that excess money that we do have in the bank. And if you check out the personnel department, you can upgrade your second driver's stats. But at the bottom this year there's a new little option, and you can actually upgrade your pit crew. So we're going to spend $1 million to upgrade our pit crew. It says that there'll be less chance of mistakes, basically have faster pit stops, and if we have faster pit stops we'll make up more time in the race. So I go ahead and spend $1 million on that, and we'll get that before, I believe, the Canadian Grand Prix. We are going to go ahead and spend some of these points as well. We're going to get a drag reduction upgrade, side profile, reprofile, and going to have a drag reduction upgrade coming before Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, which is after Canada. And yeah, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit like on the video if you haven't already. Getting into today's episode, we have got a sunny qualifying session, but rain for the race. So that poses the question, what do we do for our setup? Do we go with a wet setup to do the best in the race, or do we go with a dry setup to try and do the best in qualifying? Let's find out as we get into this qualifying session. I went straight for the wet setup because I thought it's going to benefit us more in the race to have a wet setup on compared to having a good qualifying, because our car's slow anyway. So qualifying, we're going to be out in Q1 realistically anyway. We've only been through to Q2 once this season. Can't even remember what race that was at, but we did definitely get through to Q2. And on the long run down into turn 1 now, just checking the MFD, seeing everything's okay. Getting into turn 1, braking at 100 meters, we outbrake ourselves a little bit there, missing the apex of turn 1, pushing wide on the exit, and we've spun. But Nicholas Latifi is out of the session. We are currently blocking the pit lane, but let's go ahead and check what happened to Nicholas Latifi. As he heads to the downhill braking zone for a tricky left-hander, he goes straight on and into the wall, and Latifi's lost his wheel. Latifi out in qualifying. Big crash there for Nicholas Latifi. Who'd have thought Nicholas Latifi crashing into a wall? Not me. I've never seen that happen before. Latifi out of the qualifying session, and we are currently sat in the middle of the pit lane. We have to spin round quickly and get out the way as Esteban Ocon comes flying past us. We're going to go on a cool down lap here and try and just get... I think we actually went into the pits and got new tyres on because I spun out again and burned those tyres out completely. But again, long run down into turn 1, coming out to the final corner. You need to go flat out through that final section, otherwise you'll lose so much time onto this straight. And Sebastian Vettel is out of the session now. We're still in Q1, and Sebastian Vettel approaching where Latifi crashed. He locks up on that front left and goes straight on into the wall, and Sebastian Vettel is out of the session as well. 2 DNFs already in qualifying in Q1. Vettel into the wall, exact same place Latifi did. The AI are not liking this track, are they? It's going to be a chaotic race if they carry on like that. And getting down to turn 1, there's Pierre Gasly behind us, trying to race us down to turn 1. We're only in qualifying, Pierre. Relax, bro. That put me off a little going through turn 1. As you can see, we went red on the Delta ever so slightly. And I keep checking my mirrors because Pierre is pushing behind us in a faster car. His qualifying lap will probably be faster than ours. So, and with DRS and slipstream, there's a good chance he's going to try and make an overtake and ruin both of our laps. Because if he shoots it up the inside, I'll have to back out, and you know, I don't want that to happen. So, currently ahead of Pierre still, and Green in the Delta, losing a bit of time through that corner there. This one is probably the corner I make up the most time on the AI drivers. Not when I do that though and bounce over the curb. Losing a lot of traction on the exits when I do that, and going red in the Delta. As I said, it was my best corner. And getting into the next one, heading towards the tricky castle section. Let's try not to do a Charles Leclerc and put it in the wall here. Very close to that first apex, but we managed to avoid the wall completely. Gaining time coming through the castle section. And we do have Pierre behind us still. Now this part right here, pretty much not even a corner, completely flat out, 7th gear, up into 8th, and then we get to the downhill braking zone. Can we avoid putting it in the wall? Turning very close to the wall, and we actually do scrape the wall. Damage to the front wing there, but with only a few turns left, we don't care. You know, at least it wasn't on the first turn of the lap or something like that. There's only this little section here, which in a dry setup is completely flat out. As we go left and right, so easy to lose the back end on this section last year, but this year I didn't feel a problem, especially because I'm on wheel and pedals now compared to controller of last year. Hitting that DRS point as early as possible. Pierre Gasly still behind us. We're going to be 3.5 tenths quicker than our previous lap. As we cross the line, is it good enough to get into Q2? Let's find out. No, it's not. It's going to be P20. And as we check out the scoreboard, at least we were faster than 2 people. I forgot that Latifi and Thingy retired. But Carlos Sainz in P2, DNF. Carlos must have crashed in Q1 here. Kevin Magnussen, DNF. Sebastian Vettel, DNF. Daniel Ricciardo, no time. Latifi, no time. What is this qualifying session? This Q1 is the most wild qualifying session I've ever seen. 5 DNFs in this Q1 session. Obviously, Magnussen and Vettel must have got a lap in before it. There's the incidents. You see, Latifi, terminal damage. Daniel Ricciardo on lap 1, terminal damage. When we was in the pits, he must have put it into the wall. But Magnussen and Sainz also out of this qualifying session. Let's get to the race and see what happens.
Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama, and where a 4th row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as pole position, with Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez finishing 3rd from there in 2017 and 2018 respectively. It's 3.7 miles around a lap of Baku City Circuit, 7 rights and 13 lefts, giving us a total of 20 corners. Watch out for a safety car today. Incidents are already common on this circuit, and the wet conditions will only make things worse, particularly through the incredibly narrow Turn 8. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Perez, Mick Schumacher and Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Gasly and Esteban Ocon, Albon, Stroll and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Magnussen, Vettel, Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou, the owner-driver, Ricciardo, Latifi, Sainz and Oscar Piastri. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Now I wonder, Anthony Davidson, might we be in for some early pit stops today from the midfield teams? Trying to put a bit of pressure on or disrupt things for the leaders?
If you're in the middle of the pack, you know, you got your own race to run. I don't think they're going to be thinking about causing trouble up front. However, closer to the head of the pack, don't be surprised to see some split strategies. If you're running 2nd and 3rd, for example, bringing one car in for an undercut while leaving the other one out there longer can put a lot of pressure on the leader and maybe force them into an error.
There we have the grid then for this race in the wet conditions. One stop strategy, I should say, on the intermediate tyres. Not full wet weather. Getting into the race now, though. Bit of a mixed up grid order. Lewis Hamilton down in P13. All those DNFs in Q1. Let's see how we go in the race. Lights out and away we go. Not a completely bad start. A lot of wheel spin off the line though, and you can see the cars in front going nearly 4 wide into turn 1 as we send it up the inside there. Kevin Magnussen, but it's not going to be Magnussen. It's Lewis Hamilton now on the exit. Lewis gets a bit out of shape on the exit there, and we make a pass on the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. And again, can we go up the inside of the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll? No, we can't. We have to stick behind Lance Stroll there, but up into P14 already off the line. We will start in P18. I think we gained 2 places. Our teammate Piastri taking a grid penalty there as well, and down into the next braking zone. We are comfortably sat in P14 with slow cars ahead. We have Lance Stroll in an Aston Martin who we're looking to take up the inside now as Magnussen tries to take the Williams of Alex Albon in front of us. Alex Albon in P11 in a Williams. We know that's a slow car. Can we go up the inside of Magnussen here? It's going to be tight coming through this corner with Magnussen. Can we avoid contact? Yes, we can. Fantastic overtake there, and we are up into P12. What a start to this race. Who'd have thought we'd be running in P12? We're nearly in the points. Could this be our first points finish of the season with that slow Williams in front? Alex Albon, can we catch him and make a move on Alex Albon? Getting into the castle section, we almost go into the wall lane, but managed to avoid it ever so slightly, and coming through now to this tricky part of the track. This in the dry is completely flat out, and you need to take it flat out, otherwise you lose time. But it was so tricky in these wet conditions, sliding all over the track. This downhill braking zone is so hard in the dry, never mind in the wet. So hard to get grip and slow the car down before you go straight on into the wall, as many people in that qualifying session will tell you. And getting into the next part of the track, this is even harder in the wet. Like I say, you've got to go flat out through this section, otherwise you lose so much time onto the straights. But in the wet, it was just impossible to go through this tricky left-right without lifting ever so slightly. But it seems the AI don't care about tyre wear, and they don't care about wet conditions, as Kevin Magnussen gets the jump on us coming out of there because he can go flat out for some reason, but I can't. So Magnussen makes the overtake on the way down into turn 1. Still, P13 is a very good position for us to be running. We have a little look up the inside there if we could send it from downtown, but Magnussen way too far ahead into turn 1. Still going to chase him down though. Obviously no DRS because there is wet conditions, so they don't activate that DRS, so we can't open that rear wing flap when we are in 1 second of the car in front. Lance Stroll as well, he's within 1 second of the car in front, which is us, so Lance can't get DRS on us, which is good because it means he won't be trying to challenge us from behind very soon, as long as we can keep putting in these corners and these laps and stay ahead of the Aston Martin driver. Aston Martin, a very stinky car in this game and real life, let's be honest. But again, very tricky part, sliding all over the track through that flat out section at the top of the hill, and then into this tricky part again, into where the walls just come close to you every time. And coming through the right hander, you can see I have to lift a little, going right up against the wall without touching it. But you can see the time we're losing to Magnussen just by doing that. He's 2.2 seconds ahead now. He was within like 8/10 or something. And Lance Stroll coming from behind. It's horrible because we've got to use a lot of battery there to try and defend against Stroll. But Stroll ahead into turn 1. Can we go right up the inside and send it back on Lance Stroll? Yes, we can. A great defensive move to get that position back. Now Stroll is going to be battling wheel to wheel with Tsunoda. So hopefully Tsunoda can hold him up. And going too wide through a wet track in the street circuit, they're going to be very slow. And as you can see, the gap already to those two, 1.7 seconds now, the gap behind, when it was obviously like we were alongside Stroll like literally a second ago. Well, thanks to Yuki Tsunoda for making that move, and hopefully they keep battling each other, which they kind of do, but they kind of don't, because now Tsunoda is 1 second behind and Stroll 2 seconds, so Stroll's fell back. But Tsunoda catching us, the gap up in front of Magnussen, now nearly 5 seconds. It was so hard coming through this section. You'll see again as we come through here now, flat out in 7th gear. We're just sliding along the track, almost going in the wall there, big oversteer we have to correct, and then into the downhill zone. Just losing so much time by sliding across the track like that. But it's weird the way that AI just never seemed to be affected by things like that, by the conditions or by tyre wear. Even when it's tyre wear, like people can go on a stint of like 50 laps and there's only 26 laps in the race, but they can go on a stint of 50 laps and just not be bothered by it at all. And coming through that section again, having to lift, which gives Yuki Tsunoda, who's obviously gone flat out through there, it's gonna give him a big advantage down the straight in that faster AlphaTauri car, and down into turn 1. Tsunoda makes the overtake, and we're back down into P14. Still a solid position for us to be running in the worst car on the grid, and anything can happen, you know. It's in the wet in Baku, so a safety car is highly likely on paper. Will we see a safety car mess up the order? Maybe we could still get points here in this race. That's all it was in the back of my mind. Can we get points? Tsunoda races ahead though. He's pulling that gap ahead, and with no DRS, it's going to be hard to try and catch him again. Stroll, again, we managed to keep him behind for a lot of laps there. Lap 8 now. We're coming through that final section again. Just so hard in our car. Maybe it was setup related, I don't know. But if we put too much downforce on, we wouldn't have been able to set a good time in quali, because this long straight here and on the back straight, like, it's way too long to have a high downforce setup on. So getting into turn 1, Stroll manages to cut the gap by 8/10. He gained 8/10 coming down the straight there. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how much battery he used to try and catch us there. Yellow flags in front though. Is that someone off the track? Is that going to be an engine failure or a crash? Will we see an early safety car in this race? Lando Norris in his McLaren falling down the order there. And as we get to the next corner, we can see Lando's car just off to the side of the road there. It's going to be engine failure for the McLaren of Lando Norris, and he is out of the session. No safety car though for that one there, as he managed to pull off into the, what do you call it, those like runoff areas? Well, it's called a runoff area. Yeah, so Lando pulls off into the runoff area and manages to get his car out of the way as we try and put it in the lap time. And through the laps, you can see we're back up to 1 second to Stroll, so we definitely did have that pace on a lot of the cars. We had decent race pace. It was just this one section here, this one corner, and as we come through this time, no communication from our mechanic, but the rear wing flashes orange on the MFD in the bottom right there. I checked the vehicle condition, mechanic says absolutely nothing, but what that was is it means I can't open the DRS wing. There was a fault with the rear wing, which means I couldn't open DRS, but that obviously didn't matter because we're in the wet and there's no DRS to open, so that didn't affect us at all. But I thought it was like damage or something, but nah, then I realised like, oh no, when it comes up like that, obviously because I didn't take any damage, I didn't touch anything, so when it comes up like that, it means you can't open the DRS wing. Sometimes it actually gets stuck open, the DRS wing gets stuck open, and you can't close it, which gives you a lot of speed down the straights but costs you in the corners. But anyway, coming into the pits now, on lap 13, Lance Stroll comes in behind us, which is quite lucky, otherwise he would have took us down into turn 1 there. I was hoping that was the case, and we adjust our downforce there in the bottom right, give us 3 more clicks on the front wing, optimal turning for the pit stop there. Hopefully we can have a quick one, put on those new, I was going to say hard tyres, but it's not hard tyres, intermediate tyres, put on those new intermediate tyres on. Rear wing still broke, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, the new tyre blanket regulations makes it so hard to get tyres up to temperature coming out of the pits. Again, another thing that AI don't seem bothered by, or maybe it's just me being bad on cold tyres and not warming them up properly, but so slow coming out of the pits. And here goes Lance Stroll without even needing DRS or a braking zone to try and get ahead of us there, and we look down the inside, but it's not going to be good enough. Stroll a lot faster coming out of the pits there. It was weird because it was only a straight. Obviously their car must be just faster than ours in a straight line, and maybe use some battery to try and get that overtake done. But Daniel Ricciardo currently the car behind us, as well as Lewis Hamilton, and Carlos Sainz still down in P21. That's a chaotic bottom three there. Ricciardo, well, I suppose Ricciardo's used to being down there this season, not really good in that McLaren, is he? He's not got to grips with that McLaren. But Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion in P20, what's he doing down there when his teammate George Russell is running in a podium spot in P3 at the moment? I don't know what happened to Lewis. Maybe he crashed in qualifying himself in Q2. We obviously didn't get to see because we didn't make it there. But coming through the final section now, and you can see just how slow we were coming through there again. Ricciardo's got the drop on us now. Ricciardo approaching from behind, pulling off to the side. Ricciardo going to make an overtake. Lance Stroll miles off into the distance now. Ricciardo makes the overtake, and now here comes Lewis Hamilton, and through goes Hamilton into turn 1. Hamilton and Ricciardo wheel to wheel through turn 1. Who's going to come out on top there? Can we get a switchback and maybe get ahead of one of them? No, we can't. They're going to be wheel to wheel again, and here comes Zhou Guanyu coming out of the pits. We're going to be too wide and too wide coming through turn 2. What a shot that was. 2 cars or 4 cars going too wide through a turn there. We managed to get ahead of Zhou Guanyu, but Lewis and Daniel still in front fighting for that place. Into the next braking zone, Lewis with the inside line. Who's going to come out on top here? It's still wheel to wheel. This is great racing from the 2 old timers here in Formula 1. Obviously Lewis the more experienced and world champion, but Daniel Ricciardo not giving up in that McLaren, and Zhou Guanyu looks to want to come back as well. Ricciardo up the inside. We have to make an evasive action there to not go into the back of Ricciardo. He got his turning completely wrong there, and we managed to get the drop on Daniel Ricciardo, make that overtake. Back up into P15, Lewis Hamilton, the car ahead. He's going to be flying in that Mercedes because it's such a better car compared to ours. But Daniel Ricciardo with a mistake there, and we were just waiting for one of these drivers to make a mistake and pounce on him, and that's exactly what we have done there. We have made the overtake on Daniel Ricciardo. Even though he's in that better car, he messed up on his turning. We had to take evasive action, which was very quick reflexes of me to not just go into the back of him and take us both out of that race there. But we managed to get ahead, and we are currently sat in P15. We were P14 before the pit stop, so hopefully we can try and gain that position back. But Lance Stroll was actually the man that was behind us before that pit stop, and now he's 5.1 seconds ahead. That is absolutely crazy, just showing how much time we lose through this section right here. And it was literally just this section that was killing me for the whole race. But I don't get what I was meant to do. I literally couldn't take it flat out. You see how close we're going to the wall on exit? I can't take it flat out. Like, it was so crazy. But Daniel Ricciardo not giving up in that McLaren, much faster and coming out to that corner, like I say. And even Zhou Guanyu now looking to make a move because he's came out to that corner flat out. We've not been able to do it, but we stay ahead of Zhou on lap 16 here through turn 1. Zhou is going to be fighting us now, and Sebastian Vettel in P17, he's within 1 second of us. If we keep it up, losing time through that final sector, that final corner, we're going to get caught by a lot of drivers here. But lap 20, you can see we're still putting in the lap time. Carlos Sainz now in P17. He must have made a move on Sebastian Vettel, and we nearly go into the wall there again. But we managed to keep it out. But like I'm saying, It's so hard. You see how close we're going to the wall, almost that time eating the wall, but still not being able to get flat out through that section, losing so much time. Zhou Guanyu again round the outside into turn 1. Can we go way late on the brakes? We've outbraked ourselves there, but we're going to be able to stay ahead of Zhou Guanyu. No, we're not. He's looking to come back to us into turn 2. Who's going to make the move there? Round the outside we go. Zhou is still there. Here comes Carlos Sainz from behind as well. That Ferrari, obviously the best car in the grid. We saw Charles Leclerc win pretty much every race this season. There goes Carlos Sainz making the overtake. Not going to defend that one too hard because it's Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari. We're not expecting to beat that guy, but Zhou Guanyu, definitely a driver we can beat, and we managed to stay ahead of Zhou there. Carlos Sainz making the most of that opportunity, and we've lost another place now down to P16. The point stream is looking like it's gone, but there's a DNF in front of us. It's going to be Valtteri Bottas. He's pulled off to the side of the road, causing a yellow flag down this straight, which means Zhou can't overtake us into turn 1, even if he wanted to, because there's no overtaking on the yellow flag. So Valtteri has actually benefited us a lot there coming into lap 22. So shout out to Valtteri Bottas in that Alfa Romeo. Obviously the other Alfa Romeo though still behind us, Zhou Guanyu. He's looking to make moves with his teammate out of the race. It's all down to him to give Alfa Romeo a decent weekend, but he's currently sat in P16, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that. And into the next corner, and there's contact, and we have gone round. And we've gone round. It's Zhou Guanyu. There's more contact. A lot of debris on the track there. Big pile up. Zhou Guanyu, what was he thinking? That's us in front of him, as you can see. So far back. Look how late on the brakes this guy went. Turned straight into the wall. What was this guy thinking? And then he drives into us. And then he drives into us after he spun us round. What is this guy thinking? Look at this. That is terrible driving. And then he just drives into us for extra effect. We were so lucky not to take any serious damage. Here's Latifi's view of it. He was behind our teammate Piastri. Oh, and Latifi's out of the race as well. There's contact from behind on Latifi. I was just about to say it's a crash not involving Latifi, but Latifi out of the race. Here's Alex Albon. What are you doing, Albon? It's like he done that on purpose to take his teammate out. But Nicholas Latifi out of the race there, and we are stuck on Zhou's car. I tried to drive forward, but our wheels were locked, so I had to reverse there. Hitting the wall quite hard there, but Latifi out of the session. Safety car's out. Zhou Guanyu overtakes us, even though there's no overtaking through a safety car. And yeah, Zhou is going to have to pit anyway and get a new front wing put on. But what a crazy, crazy moment that was. Zhou completely sending it up the inside. I just said it's all down to him to make Alfa Romeo have a good race. And he does one of the most ludicrous moves I've ever seen in Formula 1. Like, even if I wasn't there on the outside, he sent it up the inside and turned into the wall. So he wouldn't have made that corner anyway from his line, which is absolutely crazy. But trying to catch up to the safety car. It comes up, safety car in this lap, maintain speed. I'm nowhere near the safety car queue. Look in the bottom left. I'm nowhere near the safety car queue, but it's not letting me go full throttle. It was literally limiting my revs to maintain speed because the safety car's coming in. But I'm nowhere near the safety car line or the safety car queue, so I don't know why it was doing that. As you can see, we're significantly far away from the rest of the group. It's only me and Oscar Piastri, our teammate, that are on this side of the track. But lap 25 of 26, Alonso comes into the pits on lap 25. No idea what he's doing that for. You don't have to change compound tyre on intermediates. You can go a whole race on intermediates. If he was going for his one-stop strategy maybe, and he was boxing late, like, he could have just stayed out for these last 2 laps. But he's cost himself a place there, 2 places. If Piastri can make the move, yes he can. Alonso's still not out of the pits, and me and Piastri still go past him. I still can't get over that moment before. Absolutely crazy. Our teammate Piastri lucky to pick up no damage from that as well. But on the final lap of the race, Charles Leclerc wins the race. Charles Leclerc, who'd have thought Charles Leclerc would win a race on our F1 2022 My Team Series? That guy is OP. He needs to get nerfed. But we are approaching the line now, and we are going to cross the line in P14. So it's a very good result for us and the team there, with our teammate Piastri in P15 just behind us. Great result for the team. I think that's our best result so far as a team. And as you'll see, our teammate Oscar Piastri in P15, he picks up driver of the day. Remember, he came from P22 after a grid penalty and picks up driver of the day. So shout out to Oscar Piastri. You know, hopefully we can pick up that driver of the day at some point. Hopefully we can pick up points. When's our first points going to come? Let me know in the comments what race do you think we're going to get our first points in. But that is going to be it for the Grand Prix. As you can see, the podium celebrations, George Russell is shaking the hand of Charles Leclerc. He came in P2, or P3, George Russell did, and in P2. It always had P2, I don't know why. I didn't see who came in P2. Probably Max Verstappen, we'll see once it gets to the podium. But good result for Mercedes. They're getting one car on the podium, while Lewis was struggling towards the back of the pack, really. I don't know what happened to Lewis, like I say. I wish you could watch the Q2 and Q3 sessions, even if you didn't make it to them, to see that. But Max Verstappen on P2 on the podium there. Another good result for Red Bull, but Ferrari running away with his Constructors' title. Charles Leclerc running away with the Drivers' title as well. Next up, people, is the Canadian Grand Prix, and trust me, you do not want to miss that Canadian Grand Prix. Without spoiling anything, there were 6 DNFs in that race. Yes, that's right, not in qualifying. In the race, 6 DNFs. Absolutely crazy race. The craziest race I've ever driven in my life playing Formula 1, and I've been playing it for 3 years. Like, honestly, the craziest. But checking out the final grid for the points here in Baku. Charles Leclerc getting that extra point for the fastest lap as well. Sergio Perez coming in P4. Mick Schumacher in the Haas in P5. What a result for young Mick and the Haas team there. Mick Schumacher, potential teammate for us in the future if we're looking for a long-term teammate to try and build up and win the championship with. We obviously had his dad as our teammate last year, so it would be nice to pick up Mick as our teammate for this year. Zhou Guanyu still finishing in P17 there after Sebastian Vettel. I don't know how Vettel didn't manage to finish ahead of Zhou after Zhou had to get a new front wing. Alex Albon too. Albon had to get a new front wing obviously after that crash. But Charles Leclerc 44 points ahead in the driver's standings. Max Verstappen could definitely make a comeback still. It's a long season ahead of us left. But there's Daniel Ricciardo on the right. Our rivalry is going to come to an end with Daniel Ricciardo as he's won by 33 points to 16. So we're going to lose XP for that, which is quite BS if you ask me, because we had a good race there, so we should gain XP, but we've lost nearly a whole bar of XP. We did manage to out-qualify Daniel Lowe because he crashed, obviously, so we get 140k from our sponsor for doing that. We're going to get asked for a new rival very soon. So we'll get into that. But with only a few days to advance in the calendar, we're going to go ahead and advance straight away. That pit upgrade came through, so we'll have faster pit stops in Canada. We also had a chassis upgrade come through before the Canadian Grand Prix. I think it was a weight reduction upgrade, I do want to say. Yes, it was indeed. And we've unlocked tyre wear upgrades too, which we won't focus on at the moment. But no resource points, no money. We're going to get straight into Canada. Like I say, you do not want to miss this race. This next episode is probably going to be one of the best episodes of F1 My Team you will ever see in your entire life. Trust me when I say that. We've also burned through another ICE in that race there, which I didn't show. So at one point we did lose power in the ICE and it's finished on like 61%. But we're going to have to take a grid penalty in Canada for that new engine component that we're going to take. And yeah, I can't wait to get into this episode. Hopefully I'll see you there. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You know the vibes. I'll catch you next time. Take it easy.